knows a home more than just a house.
It was everything to him. He was his oasis.
It can be the stage for a fresh start.
He wanted a good person, so he was doing everything he could to make it happen.
But if a stranger sees into your garden of Eden,
he was just trying to help her out.
Got a gun.
Didn't have a lot of alternative.
you may discover that serpents follow.
He loved younger girls. He just got young again.
She got caught in the love triangle.
Give me my phone! So much hand, so fast. There are major problems there.
Sometimes, death comes knocking on the door.
I'm in Matt's house and he's gone. And everything's different and everyone's lying.
Countdown is somewhat true.
No, I mean, I know.
And Geddes home in City, Idaho, is his paradise.
It was just a very beautiful little place out there on the river.
The furniture night was very nice. There were paintings and things, walls, and that it like somebody wanted it to look nice.
That's not unusual in this community, known for its immaculate houses, lush gardens.
Garden is right outside of the capital of Idaho, Boise. It is a safe city.
Garden City is composed of some high-end residential homes along the river.
It's a good place to live.
And it's here that Brian Geddes made home, where he relax, play with his grandchildren, and spend quality time with his daughter, Megan.
She only daughter he had, and it was a very good relation.
We would talk all the time. I mean, we would see each other a couple days a week at least, and on the phone and text messages, mainly on the phone though. I called him on his birthday, which was October 17th.
He was celebrating his 50th.
Hi, you've reached Brian's voicemail. So can't take your call right now. Please leave a message.
Happy birthday, Dad. Listen, I'm taking you for dinner tonight, so give me a call back. Just tell me when and where. All right, bye.
No answer, didn't think anything of it, so I just kind of let it go. You know, it was, well, whatever, he'll come back.
But as the hours passed with no word from Brian, Meg grows anxious.
And then it was the next day, tried calling him again, nothing, napping for a couple days.
Her concern isn't unfounded. Brian has a history of living on the edge.
Anything to do with boat or skis or motorcycles, an engine he loved.
But then, his great risk was opening his own business, selling used cars.
He was actually looking for someone else. Things didn't work out. I could do this and on my own, and he did, and it just blew up.
I remember him telling me, I will never work for sales. He started out on a $600 unemployment, started just buying and selling cars.
He was good at what he did, and he was sold and traded, worked his way into this.
Small car dealers don't really do very well for that long, usually just a couple years. Like he just skyrocketed.
His used car lot is a multi-million-dollar company. But as Brian's business flourishes, his marriage falls to pieces.
Yes, hi.
When him and my mom were together, he was working all the time.
It got destructive, and maybe they didn't mean to each other, but it happened.
I'm doing everything I can to get home ASAP. Stop harassing me.
After a flurry of blowouts, his wife has had enough. She soon files for divorce, and Brian moves out.
He stayed in the motorhome on the side of the car lot.
Just couldn't let go. Really, really hard for him.
Does like to go fast?
Middle-aged only, Brian threw himself into the life of a much younger man,
Fast cars.
complete with heavy eating and lots of women.
He was single, so he was going on multiple dates.
He loved younger girls. He just wanted to be young again, and so he was trying to hang out with younger people.
My buddy's here. I'll be right back.
Brian develops new problems to compound the old.
He was getting drunk and acting crazy, and it got him in trouble.
He had done drugs. I'd known that.
Year and a half after the divorce, Brian is crashing the fast lane.
He just went to hell.
Making hers worse, Brian's work literally goes up in flames.
They're fired and the business under due to that.
He was very heartbroken.
His son Mitch is arrested soon after.
Seriously, Dad?
He hits rockin'.
My brother had stole a check to write my mom a check, and so my dad pressed charges. It was like a big ordeal that ended up getting them a no-contact order.
Having lost both his business and his family, Brian realized that it's time for change.
He'd look for advice on what to do, and you could change yourself and find yourself again and get your back. And he was really to do that.
He actually started investing in properties and started renting them out.
For 6 months, Brian seems to be back solid ground. That's why it's so surprising to his daughter. He doesn't respond for days after his 5th birthday.
I got a text message back from his phone saying that he was in jackpot. Now that was just, why would he in jackpot? Why would you be gambling? You don't do that. You never do that. My husband was like, he's just on 50, like maybe he really did. Maybe he went out, splurged.
As the days continue to pass without a phone call, Megan's worry turns to suspicion.
Hi, you've reached Brian's voicemail. Sorry, I can't take your call right message.
Dad, we need to talk. Bye.
Call me punky, things like that. And through the texts, I was getting honey, a sweetheart, and things. Okay, maybe he's really having fun. Maybe he took some lady up there, you know. I don't know why he won't answer my calls or call me back.
Finally, Megan gets a call, but no one she's expecting.
My brother called me on November 2nd telling me there are some teenagers in our dad's house. I met my brother in the street first, and they rode down together.
As soon as she set foot inside, Megan and Mitch know something's wrong.
I freaked out at that moment.
Went to our photo.
Maybe he's doing drugs and hiding it from me. Maybe he just got involved with the wrong people.
What's going on, Dad? I can't go through this again, Mitch. I can't.
But the truth is darker than Megan can even imagine.
She said Ron did drugs and that he had a drug lord.
People chasing the young and everywhere.
Brian Geddes' decision to gamble away his 50th day is a shock to his daughter. After a year and a half of living free-fall, recently vowed to turn her a new leaf. It starts with the purchase of a new home. The minute Brian steps into his bungalow on the Boise riverbank, it's love at first sight.
Called it his oasis. So he lived that house, and that house was everything.
Listening for Brian was the beginning. After everything he went through, this was a good thing for him to get started.
How you doing?
Good, you?
I didn't know you were going to be.
I thought I'd come and help.
The house was the first thing since the divorce. It was just his and that he done for himself.
It's also a chance to mend fences.
He was asking Emily to come over.
I want you to know how sorry I am. I haven't spent as much time with you as I should over the past couple of years, Punky.
That's all right. I know you've been having a time.
Yeah, well, just you know I've been dealing with my issues. How's that?
He wanted to be a person, so he was trying everything he could to make that happen.
I can have hiking.
Really?
Yep. You're all got some life in him yet.
Well, that's great. I'm really proud of you.
He really liked anything that had to do with outdoors.
It's on one of those hikes that Brian comes across a beautiful 21-year-old. Jordan Shaver.
Hi. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. Okay?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize anybody could see.
Brian and Jordan met on what's known as the Boise Greenbelt. It's a 20-mile trail that extends to the Boise River.
I'm okay. It's lonely, I guess. I'm so stupid.
Oh, to me, it does. Brian, by the way.
Jordan.
Nice to meet you, Jordan.
Brian told her that he knew how it felt to be lonely.
He saw that she was distressed and gave her his phone number and told her to call him if she needed.
I don't live that far from here. You can come over anytime you like, if you want.
You're so lovely.
Oh. Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Brian doesn't give Jordan a thought until the following week.
Oh my God, Jordan? What happened?
I didn't know where else to. Jordan got into a domestic altercation with her boyfriend.
Okay, it's okay.
Brian was there to comfort her and giving her some support.
Let's go inside.
No, it's okay. I don't want to be trouble.
No trouble. Okay, let's get inside. End of story, all right?
Brian called the police to his residence to help Jordan.
Be a good person.
To her safe, Brian invites Jordan to spend the night.
So where are you headed?
Home, I guess.
I'd stay there.
I mean, I sort of have nowhere to go, other than my mom's house, which worse.
I'm not letting you go back there to get hit.
It was a father trying to, a younger child, like a dog.
I've sort of been hit and hurt for as long as I can remember.
She had a pretty rough childhood, and she was trying to overcome some of that.
She was sexually abused as a child as well.
I'm so sorry that this has happened to you.
Or?
Stay here with me.
What?
You'll be safe, and I'll help you get back track.
Oh, no, that's way much. I can stay with friends, but maybe if I could just leave my stuff here, just while I get sorted out.
Whatever.
You're my hero.
He was just trying to help her when basically she didn't have a lot of alternatives.
It's a perfect thing. Jordan's the safety she longed for, and Brian's the companionship craves.
I was lonely and wanted someone to talk to.
What?
Brian and Jordan fit into a comfortable routine.
Okay, pick up 4 cars.
But it's sometimes disrupted.
Oh, I gotta go. I'll be back one day, probably.
All right. She was living there, and then she couch surfed, play place with friends.
Desperate to keep up with his youthful companion, Brian falls back into his old ways. Jordan discovers what they are.
She said Brian did drugs, and that he had a dealer.
Brian's third youth comes cost.
We're trying really hard to wash it with God, and on the other side, he was playing with the devil.
And the person learns the devil's best trick is making you believe he's not ill.
There's some major problems there.
She got cupped in, I believe, a triangle.
That would happen. What are you doing?
I didn't know where else to go.
After fleeing an abusive relationship, Jordan Shaver has Brian get his friend. But soon realizes he's got demons on. Good thing Jordan's the high life just as much as he does.
Hey. I did.
It's not long before they have even more in common.
Try that.
Strong.
A little bit.
Her relationship with Brian was just a friendship in the beginning. Did get to the point where it would just be kid holding hands and a type of flirting behavior amongst Brian and her.
Young, good-looking girl. And I guess he thinks he was gonna get some.
But that's not what Jordan thinks, even if it settles in more deep.
I just got the amazing house down by the river, and it had a pool and a hot tub.
Jordan wanted her friend to perceive her as a well-to-do person, doing well in life, live in a nice area.
Yeah, I own it. You guys come over all the time.
It's just that youthful that you want to build yourself up, much like people build themselves up on rays.
I have a lot of family over and renovations, but I want to invite you guys over as soon as I can.
Jordan wouldn't let them know about Brian. The reason she did that was obviously so she wasn't judged that she was staying with an older gentleman.
Jordan may not talk about Brian, but she talks to him about most everything.
Oh, you got a gun?
Yeah. I've been getting all these calls. Like, what if it's my ex-boyfriend? What if he found me again?
If it makes you feel better, then I think you should have it.
Brian was an outgoing person that very easy to get along with, liked to listen, liked to help people.
He also likes Jordan, but her heart is not 100% with him. It's stuck past a boy named Burke Grange.
They went to school together, and she had a crush on him, and he didn't seem to reciprocate.
She really wanted to impress him, you know, because he came from something more wealthy and she came from nothing. Jordan thought that she wasn't good enough, you know, because of her background.
But living with Brian could change that.
Jordan wanted people to like her for what she had, more than what she was.
Jordan has big plans, one she hopes Burke will be a part of. They text each other all the time. As Jordan's attachment to Burke grows, it's hard to keep both him and Brian in the dark.
Jordan would tell Burke about a res he was living at. Burke was an outgoing type of individual. He wanted to hang out. She really restricted him from coming to the residence, but would talk about it, how nice it was.
I'm gonna get another beer. Do you want one?
Yes.
Got caught up in, I believe, a love triangle.
Is Brian around? I have a problem with my washer.
As Brian's 50th birthday approaches, Jordan becomes a permanent fixture in the house. She helps with his tents when he's away.
Oh, I'm sorry. He took town to celebrate his birthday, but he left me the number for his repair guys. I can call someone for you if you want.
She introduced herself and told her that she was house sitting for Brian.
I don't think we've actually met. I'm Jordan, but
Are you his daughter?
no, I'm just taking care of his properties while he's away.
With Brian out of the house, Jordan gets to work decorating. She starts by getting Brian's old bedding.
Jordan talks about putting in trash bags.
Then the shopping begins.
She buys a bathroom mat, toilet mat, the toilet cover.
The final touches, new pillows and cans. With all traces of Brian's away, Jordan finally ready to invite Burke over her home. But Burke is less interested in the decor than the possibilities. With a couple of days, he's made himself a man of the house.
She praised him as being the love of her life, the person she wanted to be with.
Days later, Burke and Jordan host a Halloween bash for their closest friends.
They drank, handed out candy at night, and smoked marijuana.
The party rolls on, and 2 days later, friends are still hanging out by the pool.
was using the home as kind of party central, as a location for her friends to have parties.
There's unlimited beer, there was unlimited partying, there's a jacuzzi, unlimited food, unlimited marijuana.
But not everyone's party spirit.
Megan was concerned because she texted her father, kept calling her dad, hasn't heard from him in 2-3 weeks, which is unheard of.
It just kind of kept me off for a while until November 2nd. Finally, I was just like, something is up. Because my brother ended up calling me saying that there was people in the house. And that's when I was like, something's going on.
Min and her brother Mitch go straight to their dad's house.
I just like marched through the door and saw Jordan.
You, where's Dad? Who are you? Who's your dad? Brian.
She, like, completely, and that's when she's like, what the heck? Where is he? And she could not tell anything. She's so scared at the moment. I noticed, too, that she had his phone. That's where we kind of started arguing.
My dad's phone. It's mine. Like, hell is. Hey, give me my phone!
So much happened so fast.
What the hell is going on here? What is all this?
I started just ripping off the blankets and everything off the bed, asking,
Where's my dad? Give me my phone! Leave me alone! Hey, get back!
A lot of yelling and fighting and screaming.
Where's my dad? Stop, please, get up! Where's my dad? Calm down! I'm house sitting Brian while he's away in Jackpot. I swear!
Jordan is out of options.
You got 10 seconds, get him on the phone! I can't! I don't know the...
Pretty much told her, if you can't get my dad on the phone right now, I'm gonna call the cops.
Then I'm calling the police. Excuse me myself! Hey!
Jordan ended up bolting and basically ran off.
I'm at my dad's and he's gone. Everything's different and everyone's lying.
With Jordan gone, Megan's left bruised, frantic, and full of questions.
Why does my house look like this? Where's my dad? Where's he?
And the answers are far stranger than she could ever imagine.
And I remember being like,
This?
oh my gosh, Dad's calling me.
Just wasn't adding up at the time.
I was very confused, I was lost.
After finding father's home in jewels and her dad missing, a fight with Megan Go and Jordan Shaver at his home leaves her panicked.
I'm at his house and he's gone. Everything's different.
Desperate and bewildered, Megan called 911.
We received a call from Brian's daughter. She was kind of concerned, just trying to find her father.
Megan's brother shares that concern, but knows he has to get out property for his own protection.
Keep me posted.
As soon as I had to call the police, my brother left. At the time, him and my dad had no contact order, I believe, so I was also scared to even be there.
When police arrive, Megan insists they search the house for Brian.
We got this girl was in the backyard. He'll party like she owned them.
She wanted a welfare check on him and his home. Welfare check are pretty common. A lot of time people can't reach a family member. They ask us to go by the house. So this is a pretty rude call.
There's the usual party aftermath, but nothing worthy.
We found some marijuana.
Even with no evidence of foul play, police take Megan's story seriously.
Things weren't adding up, and we just know what was going on, but we thought there was something wrong.
A welfare check allows them to do a walkthrough. They request a warrant to fully search the house. As Megan waits for news, she receives a surprising phone call.
I remember being like, oh my gosh, my dad's calling me.
What is this?
I said, well, this is your dad. You need to tell those people, you can tell the cops to leave. Jordan's fine. You can be here, but they need to leave because I have drugs in the house. It was some guy. It was not my dad.
Okay, Dad. First off, when's your birthday?
And he said, like 9/60/62. And I was like, you're a month and a day off there. And then I said, well, when's mine? And then that's when I hung up because they answered.
The police order a trace on Brian's cell, last seen in Jordan's hands.
We decided to ping Brian's cell phone. And what that does is try to get a location of that cell phone.
Investigators traced the phone and Jordan to a parking lot.
They ended up finding her, I think, less than 2 miles away in a Walmart parking lot.
Hey, don't have anything to do with this, all right? I just offered to help her out.
She's with the man who just called Megan.
I need to Detective Mac.
Right before police came to Brian's residence, June went out on the green belt.
Hey, are you okay?
She was hiding in the bush. A male came walking by, asked if everything was all right. Jordan then asked to be driven to the Walmart. The woman complied.
Look, she just told me a prank call, right? I didn't do anything.
Both Jordan and her friend taken down to the street. As the pair is being processed, Detective Mark Madden is struck by the name Jordan Shaver.
I had a good professional relationship with Jordan. I knew Jordan Schaefer. A lot of the officers knew who Jordan Schaefer was due to past investigations where she victim to sexual assaults.
But Jordan is more than just the victim Brian took her for. 5 weeks earlier, she was caught shoplifting and failed to appear at her court date.
Jordan did an active warrant for her arrest. With Jordan in an interview room, She immediately recognized me before I can get her out. She's talking about she's doing better in life. She's trying to do better things, and that she was trying to get money for her rent so she could get bonded out.
It's awesome. I have a job and a boyfriend, and it's great.
We'll talk about that later. Right now, more urgent matters at hand. Need to talk about Brian Get It.
Whatever you want. I'll stay here all night.
So if it doesn't come back.
My goal in the beginning was to just get the story.
Why didn't you call Brian and ask you to?
He would have been mad at me. Brian trusted me with almost everything, and I didn't disappoint him. He didn't want anybody to know where he was going. He went to Jackpot.
Brian advised Jordan that nobody was where he was at. She was devoted to Brian and determined to not let the kids where he was at because that was his wishes.
We need to talk to him, Jordan. Just to confirm he's all...
Do you promise that you won't tell him that I gave you the number?
Promise.
Jordan would tell me it was a pay-deal phone that Brian was in. She didn't have the phone number memorized yet.
But if I could dial it?
I provided Jordan a piece of paper that had the pad of a phone. She could memorize the phone number by just movement of hand. We tried that several times. She gave us probably 4 to 5 phone numbers she thinks were the number belonged to Brian.
None of the numbers work.
Jordan would need 7 different stories. I would open those stories, I'd look into those stories, and they'd come to dead.
As officers contact hospitals in Jackpot, Jordan makes an odd request.
Can I hold your hand? It would help me remember.
And I provide my...
After hours of interview, Jordan says she wants to tell Madden the truth about Ben's disappearance.
I kept knowing that there was something. There was more to the story. I heard, well, what do you think happened to him?
Something bad. Like with a drug dealer?
Jordan explains to Madden that Brian didn't leave town to celebrate his birthday.
Wait, Jordan. I've got to leave town for the days.
What are you talking about?
I had a little bit of a run-in with a sketchy character, a dealer, and it's not good. I think it's if I just lay low.
She said Brian then asked her to stay at her residence and babysit the house while he was gone out of town. Brian asked her to do this because he didn't want a drug dealer coming into his house and stealing things.
But Jordan says things took a violent turn.
Oh, lucky girl. You want to stay? You better I tell you.
And doesn't recognize the drug dealer because his face covered. The drug dealer asked Jordan to make things better between Brian and him by going on drug runs, and believes that this drug dealer did something to Brian. Therefore agrees to help. She said the drug dealer then leaved the gun behind with Jordan. She's feared for life and believes that this drug dealer did something to him. She recognized the gun. She's able to provide me a name of posse who Brian drug dealer is.
Police drag in an unlikely suspect questioning into Burke and Timtenbeck. The man Jordan says attacked her. Over 50 people are questioned and a handful are their rights. And then the investigation takes another sharp turn.
It was Brian's jacket.
I was just, hyperventilating, screaming.
Brian Get It is missing, and his mate Jordan Shaver's police amanda her at gunpoint. Tim Steinbeck, who she says was Brian's dealer. Police bring him in for questioning.
You have firearms? So why would a tip that your 9mm handgun was in Geddes' house?
I didn't do anything to the guy, if that's what you're thinking.
I heard you had a gun.
I'm sorry, I had a 9mm, but it's stolen from my house party a couple weeks ago.
Did you report this theft? Can anyone back up your gun was stolen?
Yes, my parents inside right now.
After confirming that the gun was stolen 2 weeks before, police realize that nothing Jordan says is what it seems. So why is she lying?
Maybe she's trying to protect somebody. Is that? I don't know.
Photos posted on social media suggest her boyfriend Burke could be the somebody Jordan's trying to protect.
Pictures of him wearing Brian's clothes.
He was wearing Brian's jacket.
It's really weird.
What do you have to do with Brian's disappearance?
You tell me.
That's enough to bring Burke in. Hoping one of the luck cracks.
Let's go over the game.
Police walk him past Jordan's interview room.
Yeah.
Just the sight is enough to make her break down.
The door opened while I was talking to Jordan. Burke appeared, and Jordan began to cry, telling Burke she loved him and that she was scared.
Sorry.
Jordan tells Detective Madden he has more to say.
She's upset, she's crying, but at the same time, she's not hesitating what she's telling me.
But it's got nothing to do with Burke.
Brian went to Jackpot. He was sitting in bed.
Jordan talks about how he's in Brian's residence, his bed, giving him a massage.
He was cleaning the gun. He had to me.
Well, there shouldn't be a problem with that. She said the gun goes off accidentally and hits Brian right back of the head. The residence, taking them going out to the river, and puts the gun to it and contemplating suicide. Before pulling the trigger, she remembers her father to her that if you commit suicide, it will make you rewind. She says she couldn't do it. She puts the gun down.
Jordan's confession is enough to clear in her alleged attacker Tim. She still has more to say about what he did with Brian's body.
Jordan's able to roll Brian in the comforter with its, places a tarp down on the floor by the bed, and is able to pull Brian down onto that tarp. Jordan says she waits till about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, where then he drags Brian in the tarp through the room, into the kitchen, down the hall, and out the back. Once Jordan says there's a patio there, and says that she dragged Brian down this flight of stairs, placed him under the residence. And sort of went out to the residence and was able to, with a flashlight, see Brian residence wrapped up in a comforter.
Megan finally answers, but not the ones she'd hoped for.
Around like 3 in the morning, the detectives came to tell me that they had found him deceased. My mind at the time was going, what's going on? You know, you tell me, and still, that time was not, they were going to tell me that. I just remember screaming, you know, and like fling, and then that was.
After the body is found, police realized that Jordan may not be telling the whole truth.
When the county coroner did his autopsy on his body, his conclusion was that he'd died of a gun to the back of his head. There was no way that it was an accident.
I wanted to believe Jordan, but in the end, she was not telling anybody the truth.
With the autopsy results and the evidence from the house, police pieced together a different version of events. Jordan stole the gun from Tim at a house party. The same gun she took purposely to Brian.
Brian had been shot back of the head while he and Jordan were in the master bedroom.
Later, Jordan hides the body, puts the bloody sheets of clothes in the trash.
Then within hours, she's calling friends, telling them to come over and party with her.
And party they did.
Burke did have a relationship with Jordan in the same bed. Brian was there. Burke didn't have a clue of what was going on. He was very surprised, very disgusted.
As Megan suspected, Jordan was using Brian's phone to maintain her lies.
Using his phone, texting his family, she was pretty much pretending to be him.
And also cons against tenants.
Just wanted to draw November's rent, as I'll be out of to myself.
I'll make sure he gets it.
Thank you, dear.
Brian had several rentals. Jordan started getting the raiments from his tenants.
Within herself admitted that she shot them. She's arrested and placed behind bars.
Jordan was charged first-degree murder. In Idaho, could be a death penalty sentence.
There's 0 cons. No, nothing inside telling her, no, I shouldn't do this.
Anybody that can cover up a blood-stained mattress, just a sheet, and sleep on it, that is not in a person. There is some major problems there.
Despite her sins, Jordan dodges the ultimate punishment.
She and the prosecutors ended up working out a deal where she would plead guilty to second-degree murder, which could still carry a life sentence. It doesn't carry a death penalty sentence.
Given 20 to life, she will spend the rest of it behind bar. Fitting, it was that very youth lured Brian to his death.
You're supposed to admire the young. You're supposed to admire and follow old because that's where you're going. And if people chasing the young, you'll never get there.
Yet no life lesson is a substitute for a good friend or a father.
Just sit at his grave and just cry and cry and cry. You have to go there and tell him they have to go to see him. In almost 3 years, first thing I think to do is still grab on to go and call him. Still have his phone number. I must, go to call him. They're like, oh, never mind. It's still so fresh. I'm not over it. It'll affect me forever. It'll be like this forever.